Welcome to Library Out Loud, a conversation about any and all things related to the Spokane County Library District. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and our friends at STCU. Now, here's your host, Jane Baker.
Hello and welcome to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, the Communication and Development Director for the Spokane County Library District. And joining me today, special guest, Executive Director of the Spokane Symphony, Jeff von Saal. Hello, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Thank
great
you
to
for
be here.
joining me today. Very excited to talk about some great things, including a collaboration partnership, so to speak, between the Library District and the Spokane Symphony. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that today.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to talk about the symphony. We're going to talk about you, and I'm very excited about this program. So
Cool. Likewise.
let's get going. So recently, just started up this fall, this partnership between the Library District and the Symphony, and what we have done is through your generous donation of passes to, or tickets, I should say, to the Symphony, our library card holders can check out tickets to different concerts and attend for free. So it's turned out to be a wonderful program. We've heard nothing but great things. We've even had a couple that kind of met and maybe even have a blooming relationship going after going to the Symphony. So all kinds of wonderful things happen. So
That's always nice.
let's talk about that first of all. How did this happen from your end? Because the Symphony approached us on the passes. Do you recall the whole story about how it came about?
Yeah, so, like many ideas, I think the best ones are often borrowed or stolen. And so I had come across something sort of similar, actually, years and years ago. I was in Boston, going to college there, and I remember that the Boston Public Library had a similar program with the Museum of Fine Arts. And so it was a nice egalitarian approach where anybody could go, regardless of any other impediments, and experience the great culture that was in that city. So, this notion had come up about, it got into actually sort of a deeper philosophical question about us achieving our mission, and are we limited, or is our potential to achieve our mission augmented by the number of people we serve? And of course the answer is yes, right? I mean, a great concert performed for nobody is referred to as rehearsal, right? So we have to have people there.
Yes.
And so we take great pride in trying to maximize that. And so we thought, well, a great way to do this would be to reach out, and rather than completely invent our own system, partner up with another organization in town that happens to lend things out. And we thought, well, the library makes sense. So there you go. So that was basically the genesis of it. It's a little bit in pilot phase now. We've identified a few programs this fall that we would like to hopefully see some people at. We will tweak, we will learn, we'll listen, and evolve along with the program. I'm happy to hear that there's some new romances brewing. That's always a fun thing. And hopefully people get to experience some beautiful music at the Fox.
Yes. Like I said, the feedback has been great, and people have enjoyed the music, and it's been very accessible for our library card holders to attend. First of all, we've chosen Sundays as the dates, so there's free parking, so that reduces a barrier, because often it's a financial barrier. Sure. So there's free parking on Sundays. They get to come down, they use the tickets, and they get to see the concert. And yes, we've heard nothing but wonderful feedback from our card holders. So we're very excited about it. And we have two programs still coming up this fall, in which library card holders can get tickets for. So I'm going to let you talk about them. I'll give the dates and the details, but I'm going to let you talk about the music. First of all, if somebody wants to reserve, let's get some details about this out.
Sure, please.
If you want to reserve the passes, you go to scld.org/reserve symphony, and you can reserve right online, and then you pick up the pass at the library no later than the close of business on the Thursday before the concert, and then you just take it to the Symphony and you enjoy the concert. It's that easy. 4 passes per performance per calendar year. So you can check out for 4 people, and each pass is available 2 weeks prior to the performance. Now, the next performance, if there's any questions, please go to scld.org or stop by a library. All of our staff are knowledgeable about this and happy to help. But the next performance is coming up on Sunday, October 21st. So starting on October 7th, those tickets can be reserved. Now, the one on the 21st is the Heroic. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so both of these programs that we're making these tickets available for are within our classics programming product line. So the symphony is very busy. We're performing about 75 concerts a year.
Wow.
And so there's a whole range of activities that we could eventually evolve to making these programs available for. We thought we would start with our bread and butter, which is our classics series. So the first one you mentioned, we have it titled called The Heroic, is great repertoire. We have a Mozart piano concerto, Beethoven's Third Symphony, known as the Eroica. So this is a standard, great classics masterworks. If you've been before and you've heard it, it's the thing that I love about orchestral music is every time you hear it, it is a new interpretation. It is a living, breathing manifestation of people coming together around a common cause with uncommon fervor and just really representing the very best, I think, of what we have to offer. And so great music, played at a very, very high level. The soloist, Alan Goldstein, on the 21st is very well-known, world-famous pianist. And if you're a Mozart fan, you'll know, it's a nice opportunity to sort of maybe regress a little bit from the daily chaos of the world, and just sort of bathe in the beauty and a combination of simplicity and complexity that Mozart was able to demonstrate through his music. He really is an incredible master. Even more than 250 years later, he is still impressing us daily. And so that will be a great concert, October 21st. And then the next one, that is going to be Sunday, November 4th. It's a little bit different in that we have a piano duo. The duo they're partners with each other. And the music that they are playing is actually originally written for string quartet. So they've rearranged it for four hands, right? So we'll see two pianos on the stage, and they will be playing together. That will be sandwiched between two pieces by Sibelius, one of Finland's great composers, Finlandia, which was a sort of a nationalist piece. If anybody played an instrument in band or in high school, you undoubtedly played Finlandia.
Okay.
And then his Third Symphony, rounding out the second half of the concert. So both wonderful demonstrations of the symphony. The symphony is playing at a very, very high level right now. We're very, very proud of them. And it would be a great opportunity to take in some amazing orchestral music.
Oh, it sounds fabulous. Now, if somebody is listening who's never been to the symphony and they may be slightly intimidated, what would your message be for somebody?
Don't be. Don't be, really.
Sure.
I mean, it is a wonderful experience. Our intention is to create I will say a sort of a sacred space, a special place to experience what we do. The Fox, of course, itself is beautiful.
Yes.
It's lovingly restored. So simply just being there physically, visually, and aurally, right? I mean, the acoustics in the Fox are very, very special. Everything about that place is very special. And then, of course, you have the orchestra, which is another layer of sensory stimulus. Is just really something special and something to behold. Of course, a couple hundred years ago, there was orchestral music. There's always been folk music. There's always been other music.
Yeah.
And the same is today. We have orchestral music. We have pop music. We have country and rap and everything in between. Actually, orchestral music remains a real mainstay of our offerings at the Fox. We offer a lot of classical programs, orchestral programs, pops, and then non-orchestral programs. And we find that people come back over and over again to see the orchestra because it is something that you can sort of get used to. You can get to expect it. You can get to know the players. They are people living in our community. Some from here, some not. I myself am a musician, so I feel a very special closeness to when that orchestra starts playing. There's this sort of magic that starts happening. So, I guess my recommendation is find something that you think you like. I don't know, go on Pandora or Spotify or YouTube. I mean, it is now so easy to just start playing around with some stuff.
Sure.
And it's okay not to like everything, actually. That is a completely reasonable outcome. But you probably will also find some things that you do very, very much like, whether it's more we call absolute music, like the music of Bach, which was music for music's sake, more mathematical, rhythmic, precise, or the other end of the spectrum is like program music. So the music of Richard Strauss, the tone poems, which we'll be playing some of later this year, like Alpine Symphony is one of the most famous tone poems, and we're playing that at the end of this season, which depicts a story. So that depicts a story of somebody taking this day-long hike of starting before sunrise, ascending the mountain, encountering storms and challenges, and a sort of a standard plot where there's a protagonist and an antagonist and some, dissonance that has to get resolved some way or another, or not. Sometimes the not is interesting. And then eventually the piece comes to a conclusion. And so, you as a listener, you are experiencing it as yourself. It's an intensely personal experience. And there is this group dynamic that, you're part of 1,000 or 1,500 people experiencing something too. So it is really a magical thing. So whatever your taste may be, check it out, YouTube it, Google it, and come check us out.
Oh, that sounds great. It occurred to me as you were speaking about that, how closely what you were talking about almost sounded like a book review.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of correlations going on there.
Yes.
That's great. So many things we want to talk about, but we have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and we'll talk more here on Library Out Loud.
Hi, I'm Larry Myers, owner of River Ridge Hardware. Welcome to our garden center here on the corner of Garland and Driscoll. We have fresh plants that come in weekly from all of our local growers. We can make your garden look like our garden. Here at River Ridge, we've been here 30 years. We're your full-service neighborhood hardware store. This is our sprinkler aisle, where my knowledgeable staff will help you put together your sprinkler system so it will make your yard lush green for the spring and summer. This is River Ridge Hardware's rental center, where we provide a multitude of equipment for rent for the do-it-yourselfer. Next time you're working on your home or yard this spring and summer, stop by, say hi, and we'll help you get the project done.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
Hello there, Internet. My name is Brady Magruder, and I'm just coming out of the Spokane Talks building, and I'm excited to bring to you guys a new announcement that I am going to be the new host of the Youth Spotlight program. Now, our old host, Colin, he's off to Texas Christian University to pursue a degree in theater and broadcasting, and you know what? That's great for him, but that's what I like to call adulting. And I don't think that we have time for adulting with the Youth Spotlight program. What the Youth Spotlight program is here to do is to bring to you guys news, the greatest news of some of the most amazing people here throughout Spokane that are, just going in high school, maybe about to go into college, These people are achieving life dreams, and they are so young. And I think that these are stories that you guys should know about. And I'm so excited to be bringing them to you. Now, I'm a Spokane native myself. I've been performing throughout Spokane in various different shows. I just closed the show of Music Man, and, I guess I like long walks on the beach, keeping my business attire, while also keeping my French fry socks on close at hand. It's going to be a great year, and I'm so excited to be your guys' host. So tune into Youth Spotlight to watch me interview some of the most amazing people. Thank you and have a great day.
Welcome back to Library Out Loud. I'm Jane Baker, along with Executive Director from Spokane Symphony, Jeff von Saal. I'm saying the name correctly,
You're doing
right?
great. Good job.
Great.
A plus.
So many questions that I want to ask you, and as we're talking today, I'm seeing so many correlations between the symphony and the library, which of course is a great, perfect pairing we have going here. I was looking at an article that came out recently in the Spokane Journal of Business, and there was a quote in there from you, and I want to ask you about this. And the quote is, "We're not just a symphony, so the things we do need to reflect what the community aspires to be." This is very close to something that we believe here at the library too. So tell me about it from the symphony's point of view, or your point of view.
Sure. So this is something that I feel quite strongly about, which is that we are ultimately a community organization, and it is our opportunity and responsibility, and I would say, in fact, even our obligation to understand, to listen intently to constituents within the community, both our existing stakeholders and those who we would wish to include in that list, and take on topics across a wide spectrum. So, on the one hand, we just talked a lot about the classics, and that's sort of the bread and butter of the orchestra, and that is absolutely true, unapologetically, and assumingly in perpetuity, right? I mean, that is what orchestras do, is play pieces written by the famous composers, as we all sort of imagine. But that's sort of just the start, I think, in my mind. So both because of the constant evolution that we see happening within the orchestra industry, which is, I think, a very interesting topic of its own, of how to stay relevant, how to stay interesting, how to stay in demand. And then that in contrast with the obligation to adhere to the art form, right, and the tradition, which is orchestral music. So that in itself, what I just talked about, could represent sort of one sphere of influence in what could ultimately be sort of a Venn diagram of our existence. So the other element then, other elements include the institution, which is the symphony and the Fox, in more of an entertainment mode, right? So we don't always do symphony performances. We do lots of other things as well. And then also pursuing avenues of education and taking on very important topics that deserve attention. And so for this one, I really feel there's a wonderful opportunity as we move forward to meld together a couple of the things I just said. Having the orchestra perform works that are either neglected or are representative of something with some historic context or meaning, maybe some things that there will be some school curriculum that ties into it, or something at the library that we would be doing in concert, with some connectivity. So overall, my goal is to make sure that the orchestra and the organization matters to the people of Spokane. Right? And that's the simplest way to put it.
Absolutely.
And then what we do, we do very well. We are able to commit to something and expose it to as many people as we can, right, through these programs and many others. And so just to give you an example of the things that I'm talking about, we've talked about different project opportunities that have come up. So the 100th anniversary of the women's suffrage movement is next year. I think that's a very important topic, and it deserves some attention, right? So, women's rights is a really important thing. Especially right now in the news, there's a lot about women and how they fit into our world, and there are also some interesting manifestations of women in orchestral music, right? So primarily it has been a man's world in orchestral music, even though now you look and you think, well, that isn't really the case. Pretty much an equal representation of male and female on the stage.
Sure.
But not on the podium, right? Traditionally, conductors have always been white males. Why is that? Well, we could have a whole separate discussion about that, but there's a lot there to dissect and to get into, and some of it might be a little uncomfortable. And I think that sometimes those are the most important things to talk about.
Yes, I agree.
So whether it is simply the conductor question, or something much broader of having an equal representation of elected officials who are men and women. Something that is not about the orchestra. My viewpoint is that we, as the Symphony and the Fox, have this amazing opportunity to create the ability for us as a community to come together around topics that may have some diverse viewpoints. And not that we're going to necessarily take an opinion on that, but we can offer a platform for really thoughtful discourse to occur. So I'm very excited about that notion. I think we can do a lot more with that. And I think it can be really interesting. It can create some gravity and not be necessarily overly didactic about it, right? I mean, we don't want it to be dry and boring and just totally theoretical without any real outcomes. We want it actually to inspire people to do some of their own thinking, to get some of their own opinions, to be knowledgeable enough to say some things in a meaningful way, and move ourselves forward.
Wow. That was fabulous and very parallel to what we believe here at the library as well. So very exciting stuff. So you've been with the symphony a little over a year now.
This is just over 2. This is my third season. This is my third season. Yeah.
How are you doing? How's that going? Is this a new approach for the symphony? Have you brought these new ideas, or is this the way the symphony's been going? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. So, I mean, to simply answer your question, how it's going, I think I would like to say going pretty well. I adore my work. I love my people. I love Spokane. I think it's just a fabulous community, with so much great tradition and adherence to excellence, and yet a willingness to pursue new ideas and be adventurous and be open to new. And I think we see that with people moving here and downtown beautification and development, all sorts of really nice things happening.
Yeah.
So taken together, I think the timing is great, and things are really ripe for us to explore new ideas like the ones we were just talking about. You asked whether this is a new approach or if this has been sort of consistent. I think things ebb and flow. Of course, the orchestra has gone through periods of taking on big projects, recording projects. We've done some touring. Even we've done. I think it's time to explore some of those things again. The orchestra itself is playing at a very, very high level, which is really critical. I mean, that is the essence of who we are. Is we have to be a very fine-tuned organism. I don't want to say machine, because it is a very human experience.
Yeah.
But really, having the orchestra itself be just in top shape is of paramount importance. So around the time of 2007, when the economy changed and became a little more difficult, so did things for the symphony, and so we had to sort of pull back from a number of different opportunities. Then a few years later, it sort of resolved a little bit, but people were still a little bit hesitant. So some of this becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If the organization is less willing to take on risk, it is perhaps less able to take on interesting work. And so when I came, there was a collective willingness to sort of re-examine some things. I very much like this type of work, and sort of looking at everything from the internal operations of how are the financial statements being set up, and ensuring just a great foundation of just organizational capacity and competency, I would even say. And I feel we're in wonderful shape in that way. The internal workings of the organization are great. I have a fantastic staff. The board is marvelously engaged and supportive, both financially and in other ways. We are now embarking on a music director search, which is another interesting thing. We can get into that. And so there is sort of this implicit element of broad level thinking happening right now. We are in a music director search week right now, and lots of basically simple questions being asked, but they're really important ones. Like, who are we? What are we here for? What are we doing? Or conversely, if we weren't here, what would be missing from the community? So I enjoy those conversations. I think they're really worthwhile worthwhile for me to listen to them, not always to just be the one talking, but to really try to understand what people think. So to answer the question, it's been a good time. We're changing things, and as we now go into this music director search, I think even more conversations will happen that will sort of ripen the senses about what the future may hold.
Wow. I think I need to have you back for at least another program or two.
Sure.
Because there's
Anytime.
so many things that I'd love to ask you about. And I really think the public needs to know about the Spokane Symphony. And it's fabulous. And right now we're going to be running out of time. But I want to suggest to people, especially district card holders, go online, check out the PASS program, attend a symphony concert, and experience the wonderful Spokane Symphony we have. And I'm going to ask you, will you come back again?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll do that. And for this time, unfortunately, we have to go. I'll see you next time on Library Out Loud.
Library Out Loud is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. Library Out Loud is brought to you by the Spokane County Library District and STCU. Go visit and explore your local library today.